Right. Get all centered up here. So, guess who's back and feeling better? That's right. Your host, Jesse. Feeling so much better than last week. Man, let me just take a second and tell you. Probably the worst thing for an instructor and a YouTuber to have is laryngitis. Man, it came on so sudden. I was giving a lecture to the students, doing a demo while I was driving the boat. About 2 minutes after that, voice gone. It took until about, that hit me Thursday afternoon, and it took until about Tuesday for it to get better. And there was nothing that would make it better other than not talking. We had to bring another instructor with us who wasn't certified on that particular boat. I had to be there just to be on the boat. We had to bring another instructor so he could do the talking. And y'all know me, I can talk my head off. It was bad. But we're all good, feeling better. One of the comments, so there's different filters that YouTube has. Some of the comments that are not YouTube appropriate, they show up in the hidden comments box. And one of the viewers said, "Thank God you can't talk. I never want to hear your fucking voice again." Well, buddy, what are you doing on my page watching my videos? I mean, thanks. Thanks for the views. Negative attention is attention. But all you got to do is click that little X in the upper right-hand corner, or the back arrow, or blah. I don't know. Anyway, dude, just seem to have it out for me. But, nothing but love for you. So, we'll stop rambling. Let's get into today's topic. I woke up today. Oh, special Saturday edition for everyone, since I Jewed everyone out of the last week's video. I was feeling pretty nostalgic when I woke up today, and I was thinking about the academy, thinking about OJT, and I wanted to bring you guys back and expand on a little bit of the academy experience. We're going to talk about the tour of the unit that I took, the Estelle Unit. Now, when I first hired on with TDC, the academy class that I was in was being held at the log cabin. The academy building was physically full with other classes that were going, and we had to wait until one of them graduated and they actually had physical classroom that we could be in to get taught. So until we did that, we went to the log cabin. The log cabin neighbors, yeah, I guess that's the word, is right next to the Goree unit. Goree unit, being an all-male facility, is one of the older units at TDCJ. I believe it was built in 1908. I always wanted to see the inside of the Goree, and I never got a chance to. I don't know why. I wanted to see what the inside of an old penitentiary looked like. Once the class graduated from us, I think it might have been midway through week 2, we stopped going to the log cabin and we went to the actual academy. The closest unit to the academy is the Estelle Unit. As part of your experience in the academy, we would do unit tours. We were supposed to tour 3 different units. We ended up touring 2 units, 1 unit 2 times. We toured the holiday unit first, which is a transfer facility. That's where all the new hires, newly convicted inmates end up. They do their classification, check everything out, and they send them out to all the different units from there. So it's a very transient unit. The Estelle unit, maximum security, high security. All right. One of the bad places. Now, all the places are bad places. Pause for hydration. Get out of view. Can't show what I'm drinking on here. Anyway, they're all bad places. Don't get me wrong. I guess I think it's still max security. I did a video where I listed all of them off. I think it still falls under that category. Anyway, we did 2 separate tours in the Estelle. To get to the academy, once you pulled off the highway, you went down this real long, winding road. Estelle would be to the right. Turn down the road, it curves around, and there's the academy. Big building, big dirt parking lot. The range is there in the back of it. It didn't take very long to get from the academy over to Estelle. We toured at 2 separate times. The first tour that we did, I say tour, we were basically, it's kind of like OJT. We were shadowing the officers that we were working with there. They used us for pat down and they used us for cell searches. It's a way for them to get some free labor. First time we toured it, we did general population. Second time we toured it, we went to high security. For some reason, Estelle calls their administrative segregation ADSEG high security. I don't know why. I didn't work there. I just toured it one time, twice actually, once in high security. So if any of my viewers who worked there or had the dubious honor of being a guest there knows, I'd love to hear that. Comment down below for me or shoot me a message. So on this particular day, we're going to tour the high security. We get to the academy, meet up with the instructors. A bunch of us pile into our own vehicles, gas not provided. And we go over to Estelle, park in the parking lot. We get out of our cars. We walk down the road. We had to wait on both sides of the road. All the field bosses were mounted up on their horses, and a big long line of inmates, the old-time chain gang. They all had their tools. It was like something out of a movie. They all had their tools slung over their shoulders. They had the leg shackles on. I thought they were doing a show for us, but this was legit real life. And they were herding these inmates down the road to get to their work detail. Well, we had to wait for that to go on. It was, I don't know where they were going, but it was a long, long line. I think it took us a good 30 minutes or so. We go down the road, we take a left, and it's just a big steel building. Sergeant leading us, big jacked juicehead guy. Pretty sure he was on the juice. Shirt didn't hardly fit, freaking sleeves tight, biceps bulging, that kind of guy. Rodney? Sergeant Rodney. Yeah, if anybody remembers old Sergeant Rod, that's who that was. Bald-headed dude, cool guy for the most part. Most of the instructors were dicks. Goes up, bangs on the door. We wait a little while. Door cracks, and this head sticks out as a female. Sweaty-ass, matted blonde hair. Restraint chains hanging down her neck. Sticks her head up. I'll be with you in a minute, Sergeant. Pulls her head back, door shuts. Again, I thought it was a show. All that was real life. We're all standing outside. Okay. They broke us up into 2 groups. Half the class went Gen Pop, half the class went high security. I don't remember how many of us there were. 30 or so, maybe 40, something like that. Takes a little while. She opens the door and we all file inside. And the first thing that I noticed was the fucking heat. Dude, I thought she had gone in and turned on the heater or some shit. No, it was just that hot inside that building. When we first walked in, we hit a wall and it branched out and it basically made like a T with a top and a bottom, okay? You went down the corridor, turned, went down, and it basically made kind of like a box, I guess, type thing. Inside, when you made the turn, there were the doors on both sides. And when you went in one of those doors, it took you into one of the pods. I don't know what was to the right. That might have been where their chow hall, where their property room, the infirmary, that might have been where that was. I didn't get the chance to see any of that. So we all went in, we take a left, we file on down around, and it wasn't very loud. There wasn't a whole lot of noise going on. It was a lot to take in. They wanted us as close to each other as possible. And we filed into turnout room. Break room, turnout room. That was where the shift supervisor would brief the officers and give them their assignments. And there weren't enough chairs for all of us. I was one of the ones standing up. I was kind of in the middle of the room. And we're just hanging out in there waiting. Old Sar just hanging out in the back doing whatever he's doing. And the door opens, and this sweat-soaked Hispanic lieutenant comes in. Short, stocky guy. I say short because if he stood up next to me, that's where his head would have ended. He had his thrust vest on. His collars were outside the vest. He had his LT bars on. And on his sleeve, each yellow stripe, the French fry, each stripe was 5 years. He probably had all the way up to there, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. He had somewhere between 25 and 30 years worth of service, if he had all of them sewn on there. Very senior guy. Comes in, shuts the door behind him, looks around the room, points. The first thing he says, "Wake your fucking ass up." I looked around and you see student. Someone had dozed off in their fucking chair. And he just goes on a tirade. "This isn't your typical fucking day in the academy. This is real fucking life. This is Estelle, high security." And keeps going on and on and on. And I'm like, okay, back in the military again. It was good stuff. How we doing on time here? We're good. Gets done doing his yelling. "Next one that I see that nods the fuck off, I'm firing you right here on the spot." Okay, here we go. Gets done doing his little briefing, tells us a little bit about the history of Estelle, high security. That's why I don't remember. I think I was not really paying attention. I'm not saying that's right. I'd kind of zoned out at that point, not really paying attention. I'm just ready to get inside one of the pods and start fucking up some inmates. You know, that was my mentality then. Okay, not right, but you guys get the truth here. I was ready to get in and get the shit started. So we file out from there and we go down the corridors, and each one of us, we go inside one of the pods. LT had his keys. It's called a Folger Adams Key. Big, you can Google search it. You'll pretty much, if you've seen any of the prison movies, you'll recognize it. Big copper key. Might even have been brass. Big copper key. You stick it in, turn it 90 degrees, and that would open the door. He opens the door, and they're just shoving cadets in the pods from there. I don't know which number pod I ended up going into. They were doing us in groups of 2. I don't remember anything about the cadet that I was assigned with. Didn't like each other, didn't really know each other. There was no rhyme or reason how we got pushed in these pods. We just did. So we get shoved in one, and there's a video on YouTube. I don't know how it got on there. Might have been from a contraband phone. You can YouTube TDCJ Estelle, and it'll show you what the high security looks like. Looks absolutely nothing like the Styles unit where I worked. When you go in, it's just a long concrete walk, doors on both sides, and there's stairwells that go up. At the end of the walkway, 2 stairwells up. Behind you, 2 stairwells up. Doors on both sides. At the end of the walkway, there was a door. The door led to an outside rec. I don't know when or how they used it. It wasn't like Styles at all. They weren't getting pulled out, going to the rec room. There wasn't even a rec room in there. It wasn't that loud. There was some talkings, some grumblings. When we walked in, the place didn't erupt and explode, nothing like that. Over on when we walked in to the right, there was a desk, and there was the CO sitting there. He had it, obviously had on his uniform, had his stab vest, had TDCJ hat on. There was actually air conditioning inside the pod. I couldn't believe it. Out there in the corridor where we were, it was like a freaking oven. But when you stepped inside there, it was nice and cool. He's sitting there at his desk. We go in, door shuts. We look at him. He looks at us, and he goes, "Academy?" I said, "Yes, sir." "It's not, sir. CO Reese." "Roger that." So, all right, CO Reese. He goes, "Okay, tell you what, dude. Let's just call me Reese. All right. Who are y'all?" Carter, whatever Dickbag's name was, next to me, stands up like, "All right, well, let's go ahead and get started." He talks to us about how the daily routine goes on in there, shows us the post orders. Post orders are at every post, and they're there to give you the policies and procedures of how you're supposed to run that particular area. It was black and white on the post orders. It wasn't black and white on how you were going to run your pod. I've talked about that numerous times. Shows us the post orders, shows us the count sheet, and then shows us how to do some security rounds. So we go over to the first door, we look at the door, shows us how the mechanism works, shows us how the bean tool works. Stick the bean tool in the slot, lift it up, it depresses the mechanism, you can pull the slot open. From there, that's how you pass the trays over to the inmates. One of the things the lieutenant did tell us before we broke out was to not interact with any of the inmates. No matter what an inmate says to us, don't interact with them, don't talk to them, don't get caught up in their games. Stick with the CO, ignore the inmates. Okay, so I wasn't saying nothing. All right, go over to the first one, inmate comes over to him, starts talking to him. And I found out the reason these guys were some of the most behaved is because they were the ones that were about to get out. All right, I don't know how long they had, but basically every one of them that was in there in less than a year, maybe even some months to the day that we were there, they were going to be on the streets. It was a releasing unit. So they didn't want to do anything to mess that up, so they were relatively well behaved. And he just has a conversation with him like normal. All right, he tries to ask us some questions. Reese goes, hey, you know they can't talk to you. LT done briefed him. Like, yeah, that fucking guy. Why does he take this shit so serious? Man, Reese, you always been good to us, man. Yeah, why that LT gotta brainwash these guys, make him into RoboCops? I always remember that dude calling us RoboCops. I'm just standing there taking it all in. Cool. The cells were pretty well set up. They were modernized. They had a shower in there, a sink, the bunk, a little couple of tiered shelves in there. It wasn't too bad. So the difference in that and Styles, he didn't have to pull those guys out and take them to the shower. They had shower right in there. Styles, we had to do that. We go down and he starts doing his security rounds. We spent about 4 hours or so in there, give or take. He didn't pull one single inmate out the whole time. Nobody came in, no pill nurse, chaplain, law librarian, food cart. I don't know if I got there after the food was served or if they were going to serve it right after we left or if things were on hold because we were there. All he did was go around and make security checks. I do remember at one point he's standing in one cell talking to the guy. Cadet's beside me. I'm standing beside the cadet, and to my right shoulder, I had it facing the door, and inmates trying to talk to me. Hey, boss man. Hey, boss man. Boss, hey, you're going to have to look at me at some point, boss. I'm not going to stop talking to you. You can't ignore me. And I remember turning and looking at him going, hey, I'm not allowed to interact with you. LT already told us we're not supposed to interact with you guys. I'm just here doing my unit tour. Hey, you go fuck yourself. I'll see you outside. Walks back, went and sat down on his bunk. I'm like, what the fuck ever, man? You son of a bitch. Stuck behind cell door. Pretty sure that guy meant it. I don't know what his beef was with me. Probably just didn't like new rookie COs. There's the first threat that I got, TDC. And there would be a lot more to follow. Don't kid me. A lot more to follow. Let's see. We walked around some more, looked at all the doors. LT came in to make his security round. I thought it weird. This was the first time that I had seen policy violation, and I wasn't sure how to take it. We were taught in the academy, don't give an inmate nothing. Don't take something from him and give it to somebody else. That's trafficking and trading. They're not allowed to do it. We're not allowed to do it either. LT came in. He interacted with us a little bit, talked to Reese, gets ready to go down the tier, and we hear banging on the door. I remember I turned back and look, and LT stops. Inmates talking to him. I don't know what he was saying. and an envelope slides out from where the door and the wall was a little gap, about yay much, enough that the door could slide and slide back on its rollers. And a letter, an envelope slid out, and LT took it, pulled it out, slid it through the slot over to the next door. Inmate took it back. He goes, leaves, does his thing. We go on about our day. Reese sitting back at the desk, and I was like, hey Reese, man, I got to ask you a question. When LT took that envelope from him and passed it over to the next cell, that's trafficking and trading. He can get in trouble for that, can't he? And Reese goes, hey, rookie, there's the academy, and then there's TDC. You figure it out. I'd pissed him off pretty good at that point. I don't know what he thought of me, but if he did hold me in any kind of esteem, which I doubt he did, if he held me in any kind of esteem, he certainly didn't at that point. And that was it. We didn't talk to each other anymore. We just kind of hung out, and Sergeant Rod was going up and down. Once our time was up, Sergeant Rod was going up and down. He banging on the doors, trying to get the COs to get us out. He was ready to go. He was tired of being in there. He wasn't in the nice air-conditioned pod where we were. He was out there in that hot-ass corridor. Open the door. We file out. We all get outside. We form up in our two lines. We didn't march. We just walked in a gaggle or so. Walked back to the parking lot. Told us what time we needed to be back at the academy the next day. That was the end of the tour. Got in my car, went back to the academy. By that point, I wasn't staying in the old, abandoned, condemned building. I had gotten a room at a hotel, and I was doing a weekly rate. I did that for the last 3 weeks of the academy because I was just so tired of staying in a room that was built for 2 and had 8 human beings crammed into it with no air conditioning, and it being May at this point. So there's my story on the tour of the ADSEG high security at Estelle. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope everyone's having a good weekend. I hope everyone's staying cool during this heat wave. We hit 107 here on the East Coast the other day, and let me tell you, that's some hot ass weather. So y'all stay safe, take care. I'll see y'all in the next video.